Hey everybody, this is Loli Jane, animal communicator and energy healer from animals-speak.com, and you're listening to Loli Jane Animal Communication Podcast, the show that promises to open your mind and heart to the amazing world of animal communication, energy healing, and what I like to call interspecies therapy. Thanks for joining me. In today's episode, I'll read you an interview I did with an online psychic magazine called psychicsforyou.net. I'm being interviewed by Ro, who came up with some excellent, thought-provoking questions. This interview is a fantastic deep dive into the world of animal communication, and I think you'll really enjoy it. I hope you enjoy the show. First, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm an international professional certified animal communicator and pranic healer, teacher, and podcaster, specializing in telepathic communication and healing animals using the interspecies therapy approach. I offer remote and in-person sessions that address issues like behavioral and emotional issues, physical or health problems, animal mirroring, assistance with end-of-life decisions, help with pet loss grief, talking to animals in spirit that have crossed over, past life regressions, and helping locate lost animals, and also channeling and spiritual guidance and healing for the humans. I also combine my animal communication expertise with pranic healing to provide remote, comprehensive care for animals and their humans. Additionally, I conduct workshops for aspiring animal communicators like yourself, teaching them how to connect with their animals, find root causes, and animals' needs to resolve issues. Explore my transformative services and profound impact of my work in this great interview on psychicsforyou.net, and also you can check me out at animals-speak.com. In the first part, we explored background and inspiration. So here are Ro's questions. What made you want to become an animal communicator, and how did you get started? I've always loved animals and tried to collect them as a young child. You may have heard this story many times in my other podcast. So I grew up with profound hearing loss, and I learned a different way to communicate than most people. And I began to develop a lot of the clairs, what we call the clairs, clairaudience, clairvoyance, clairsentience, and also other psychic abilities I learned early on, probably because one of my main senses was cut off. I also learned and studied pranic healing later in life, and when I was in Hawaii, I met up with a woman named Amelia Kincaid, an animal communicator, who walked into the activity booth I was working with. And this was divine timing as far as I was concerned, because at that time I was seeking passion and purpose in my life and my career. So that night I went home. I had a dream about my dog who passed away some years earlier. And the next day Amelia happened to return to my activity booth and deliver the exact same message that I received that night from my dog. And that was it for me. That was the spark that ignited my desire to become an animal communicator. That was the beginning of it. And after that, I embarked on a 2-year very intensive training program from the Gurney Institute of Animal Communication, and have never looked back. I took a giant leap, and I took a leap so giant that it propelled my life forward in a way that I could never, ever imagine. And today, I'm a professional international animal communicator, energy healer, teacher, and podcaster. I now offer animal communication training and certification. The next great question from Ro. What is animal communication, and how is it different from regular training for pets? Animal communication is simply telepathy, using thoughts, words, images, and anything to do with the 5 senses. All animals naturally communicate this way, and remember, we are also part of the animal kingdom. So this is also an innate skill that all humans possess. When I have a conversation with an animal, I am speaking silently with my thoughts, which means it can be done remotely from anywhere in the world. Animal communication is actual one-on-one communication, and it's more like a negotiation with the animals. They can share the cause of the issue and what they're trying to get your attention about, and what they need from you to fix the issue, or what alternatives they can use to alert you instead of the current behaviors. Regular training is behavioral training and focuses more on control and dominance. Using a cookie-cutter approach, behavior training is great for certain things like puppy or potty training, and even clicker training, but typically does not address the root cause or things like animal mirroring or past life causes, or even showing you the behavior of an animal that has passed. And in fact, I think both of them are good. I'm going to attend puppy training with my puppy, like traditional behavioral training, but I also communicate with my animal to find out the actual causes of stuff. So my approach to animal communication is more of an interspecies therapy, like a counseling session. Sometimes an animal's issue is not even their issue. Rather, they are mirroring you to show you what you need to work on. And sometimes an animal's issue can be related to past lives where they incarnated with you before. In this case, I can do a past life regression for both of you and your animal to resolve the issues from the past life. Animals may even be empathetic, picking up others' feelings, or even other pets in the house. Or behaviors have physical causes sometimes, and I can address this and get lots of details for a veterinarian or to do a pranic healing session with the animal. The downside of traditional behavior training is it does not address any of these other possibilities that I just mentioned. And most importantly, it gives animals a voice and a great feeling of being heard and acknowledged for their intelligence and input, something we all need. The next part is on approach and techniques. How do you help animals with their feelings and behavior through communication? Just like humans, animals experience a full range of emotions, and you can be sure that when an animal is showing you a behavior, they are trying to show or tell you something. Animals are always very intentional in their actions, but as humans, we tend to make judgment calls and assumptions on the problem itself. Instead of making assumptions or judgments, I leave it up to the animal to tell me specifically how they're feeling when they're doing the whatever said behaviors behind an issue. I ask the animal about the behaviors and not the assumed issue, because you could be very wrong. And as I mentioned earlier, sometimes their feelings may be related to something else, like mirroring their primary person or caretaker or family member, or past life issues or empathy. In these cases, I will address the person since they are the ones that have to work on the issue. The next question, how do you use telepathy in your session, and what works best for connecting with animals? Telepathy is like learning another language, and although it is innate in humans, we were not trained to do this. We were trained to speak with our voices instead of our thoughts. Telepathy is just speaking through our thoughts. The information you get from an animal depends on the sender and the receiver. Some people and animals are more visual and send and receive images. Others are more auditory and get words or audio. I'm clairaudient, so I get audio just like I'm talking to a person. I get all the nuances and the tones of voices so I can tell their personality and what they're feeling. But I also get images, sounds, smells, feelings, and even pain. The next question, how do you get ready for a session, especially when talking about tough topics like illness or end-of-life decisions? My answer, I get ready for a session by raising my frequency. When your frequency or vibration is high, telepathy is easy. I do things like exercise, grounding, walking out in nature, meditating, or listening to music, and also things like stabilizing my blood sugar and staying hydrated. That's important too. I don't consider any topics tough. Physical and health issues and end of life are my specialties since I'm a pranic healer. Talking about end of life with an animal is such a beautiful honor since animals don't have the same negative emotions around death or even passing. They just go back into spirit and can reincarnate at will to be of service with their person again and again. But I usually start the conversation with animals by establishing a rapport with them and try to get to know them and their personality. Things like favorite activities, toys, foods, their likes and dislikes, and all of that makes them comfortable or uncomfortable. Then I ask the animal if we can talk about the difficult subject at hand. The next section is about impact and experiences. Can you share a story from your work that shows how animal communication helped a pet parent or caretaker and their animal? I love this question. There are so many stories to share. I had an amazing animal mirroring case where a cat who was treated unsuccessfully for 2 years with an impacted bowel told me it was not his issue, but had to do with the female family lineage in the household, being angry at their mothers. My mind was blown because I would have never connected the dots together. But when I discussed this with the person, she shared that 3 generations of women had impacted bowels and also were in fact angry and disconnected from their mothers. So I worked with a human client instead and did a pranic healing forgiveness technique with her. She called me 3 weeks later and told me that the cat's impacted bowel is gone with no further treatments with the cat. And she was talking to her mother, and her mother forgave her mother, and so on. And all the bowel issues simply vanished. Another example was a client with an aggressive foster dog she adopted. The dog was very aggressive on walks and would bark and lunge at other animals and humans. He was very strong and would pull her with him on walks. After talking to her dog, I found out that the aggression had to do with overprotectiveness from past lives they had together. She also had thoughts of fear and anxiety around the walk since she knew she was going to have to deal with his aggression. And animals can hear your thoughts telepathically, so you must think and visualize of what you want to happen, not what you don't want. Instead of training the animal, I have to train the human to think different thoughts on what she wanted to happen on daily walks. And of course, this is really hard to do for a human and requires a bit of repetition and practice since we project the future based on our fear-based thoughts. I told the client before leaving the house to go on a walk to close her eyes and visualize the entire walk going smoothly and effortlessly, and imagine a friendly, calm dog who approaches strangers peacefully without any aggression. I had her do this before every single walk, and after about 2 weeks, it was as if she had a completely different dog. Friends who knew the dog as a foster could not believe this was the same dog. There are many more stories with all kinds of issues, including behavioral, physical, and health, and of life, and even talking to animals in spirit, past lives, and locating lost animals, and many more. The next question: how does pranic healing fit into your practice, and how do you combine it with animal communication? I love this question because animal communication and pranic healing complement each other very well. If you can afford to do so, book a double session with me with both animal communication and pranic healing, where I can get all the details for myself and also for your veterinarian, which you can share, by asking the animal directly and also doing a body scan. This way the veterinarian can make a better diagnosis with details, like things like how long they've had it, what the sensation is, whether it's acute or chronic, when it started, the pain level. And because I'm also empathic, I can actually feel the pain or blockage and can describe it in detail. I can also get specific information for healing session for the pranic healing that I do, also called medical qigong. And it's very specific. It's much more specific and directed energy healing modality than Reiki. And we can work on specific illnesses, injuries, or disease states. The next question: how do animals usually respond during communication sessions? Well, most of the time, animals are thrilled to be talking to a human who actually believes in their intelligence and allows them to be heard, acknowledged, and even ask for advice from them. Sometimes guilty animals might think they're in trouble at first when we address certain behaviors. but I assure them that they are not bad. They're just showing their person bad behaviors, and I'm interested in what is behind the behaviors. I also tell them I'm here to help and share with their person and what they need to feel more comfortable, or ask them for alternatives to the behaviors that they're currently doing, whether they can still alert the persons but do it in a different manner. The next section is on workshops and training. The row asks, what can people expect to learn in your animal communication training workshops, and who would benefit the most? Great question. I offer comprehensive animal communication training with an interspecies therapy approach, where we deep dive to find the root causes and individual solutions, and most importantly, what the animals need from you to resolve the issue. It has expanded my life in unimaginable ways and opened up all these fun psychic things that I never knew I could do. If you have animals or would love to work with others' animals, it is extraordinary to be able to talk and share with animals and their humans. I offer basic and advanced training for both novice animal communicators who want to learn how to talk to their own animals, or those who want to become professional animal communicators, including a professional certification program. The workshop includes introduction to animal communication, dealing with behavioral, emotional, and obedience issues, physical and health issues, end-of-life decisions, pet loss, talking to animals in spirit that have crossed over, past lives, help locating lost animals, animal mirroring, energy healing and chakra balancing, animal aromatherapy, digital and print marketing, social media, podcasting, public speaking, and lots more. The workshops are half the price of other training programs and also pay as you go, and you'll be able to practice and perfect your craft in each workshop with 3 practice animals and client feedback and mentoring from me. I also offer additional mentoring if you really want to brush up on your skills. If you want to check out the class schedule, you can go to mindbodyspiritworkshops.com, mindbodyspiritworkshops.com, or to my other site, animals-speak.com. And the dash is a hyphen. Okay, next question. What advice would you give someone who wants to learn how to communicate with animals? My advice is just do it. Get out of your own way and stop telling yourself you can't, because I can assure you, you can. The next segment is on understanding animal communication. And the next question, what are some common misunderstandings about animal communication? The biggest misunderstanding is that it's a psychic reading. It's not psychic. I'm not making a guess or using intuition. I'm holding a one-on-one conversation telepathically, and it's just like talking to a human and coming up with ideas or solutions together. Other misunderstandings I've heard are that people don't understand that telepathy is silent and does not have to come out of your mouth. Someone once asked me if I bark. Needless to say, I had a great laugh. Another misconception is that we can lie to an animal. For example, a client asked me if I could tell her dog that they're going to a dog park when in actuality they were actually going to the vet. And I said, no, I can't do it because you can't lie to an animal they can hear your thoughts. If you try to pull this stunt on your animals, they will feel betrayed and act out like children. What's going to happen is your animal's going to feel betrayed because you were lying to them. And then they're going to act out like a child with distrust issues. Some believe we can because you're lying to them and they feel that betrayal. I can openly discuss an issue with an animal, some believe but that doesn't mean that they're going to do it. That we can control or demand what an animal does. I negotiate with animals. I don't control or dominate them. The next question, how does animal communication help pet owners understand their animals better? My answer, it will enrich your relationship with your animal in amazing ways. Giving your animal a voice to be heard and acknowledged and even asked to make suggestions for their own care. Imagine that. Your animals will feel overjoyed and respected as equal beings and part of your family, After all, they incarnate with us to be of service and help us with our lessons. Next question. What kind of problems can animal communication help with? Animal communication can help with all animal issues, including a lot of the ones that I mentioned and that I work with: behavioral, emotional, obedience training, physical and health, animal mirroring, dying and end of life decisions, talking to animals in spirit that have crossed over, helping with pet loss grief, helping to locate lost animals, soul animals, reincarnation, past lives, and of course, much, much more. Many times, when an animal shows you a certain behavior, they are trying to alert you about themselves or show or tell you something about you or a person in the household or even another pet. And I've had many cases where the animal's issue led right back to the person, and they were able to get help with their issue because the animal shared with me. Mysteriously, the animal's behaviors or issues simply disappeared without any other treatments or behavior training. And I've seen this happen in multiple cases, including physical and health issues where animals take on a chronic illness, like I talked about before. This is a great question. Are there signs that show an animal might need help or communication? Yes. Any new or existing behavior or physical issue that is out of the norm for them. Animals are very intentional, like I said, about what they do, and if they are showing you a behavior or a physical problem, it's for a reason. Animal communication will help decipher what they are trying to show or tell you, or whether it's about them, you, or someone in the household. The next question: how do you tell the difference between a real feeling from an animal and something influenced by human emotions? Great question again. Animals feel the full range of emotions, just like humans. And emotional issues may be coming from them, caused by something that happened, some dynamic in the household, a health issue, grief, loss, or they may be mirroring or empathically picking up emotions from other humans or animals. This is where the interspecies therapy approach comes in. I can discuss with the animal how they are feeling emotionally and get details such as when it started, how long it lasted, if something happened, why they feel this way, and if the issue belongs to them. In the case of mirroring or empathy, I can alert the person that needs to work on their issue, since they may not be consciously aware, even ask the animal for suggestions for their person to help themselves emotionally. Next question. What do you think is the most important thing for pet parents to know about their relationship with their pets? That it's deeper and more profound than you ever thought possible. Your beloved animals incarnate with you over and over in many lifetimes to be of service to you and help you with your chosen lessons. I've had many cases where the animal shared with me the lessons that their human was working on and needed to overcome in this lifetime. Things that I never would have known because the person never told me, and they were mind blown, when I read it back to them. People are usually astounded by this because they did not share these personal details with me before the session. Next question. How can people develop their own ability to connect with their pets? I would say by learning how to go inward, close our eyes, and try to connect with your animal silently. Ask them a question, like if there's anything they want to share or anything they need from you. You may get images, words, sentences, sounds, smells, whatever. Don't censor yourself. Just write it down. That brings us to the end of this episode. To try is to take your animal on a walk and talk to them silently the entire time. Tell them to turn right or left, or if they don't know what that is, send them an image of left or right. And you'll be amazed what you will see. You'll be amazed that the animals are going to follow your silent instruction. I love doing that with people. This next set of questions is about the future of animal communication. What do you find most rewarding about your work in animal communication? There are so many rewarding things about this work, but my life has dramatically changed on so many levels since I've been doing this work. I've healed many old wounds, come out of my shell and blossomed in unimaginable ways. It feels like animal communication was the final puzzle piece that was always missing for me. Once I found that piece, everything began to make sense, and all the abilities I had came together magically. I never understood why I was so different, and I had to endure profound hearing loss. Had psychic abilities, became a healer, and always went deep with people, and had an angelic experience that taught me to channel. It all makes sense now, and I have a complete toolbox to profoundly help animals and their humans. I love watching the healing of the whole family, especially the human behind the animals, since they are helping us with our lessons. One of the other most rewarding things is talking to horses and rescued animals in zoos and sanctuaries. Although some may frown upon the treatment of captive animals, every single animal in human care that I've talked to has shared with me that they are teachers for humanity, and they chose this incarnation to be front and center so that they could awaken us and share their absolute intelligence and love. And what an absolute gift from the animal kingdom. Next question. How do you see the field of animal communication changing in the future? My answer. Human to animal telepathy has been taking place since the ancient Aborigines. The field of animal communication was very active and heavily researched in the 1920s and 1930s, but was suppressed when the U.S. and the Soviets classified their research in the 1960s and 70s. Scientists, psychologists, anthropologists, and even psi researchers have been deceived into thinking that a human to animal telepathy is woo-woo and not real or valid science. Now, with the transparency of declassified research and documents, you can see what has been withheld from us all of these years. Today, the military is even using synthetic telepathy. I believe the future of animal communication is very bright, where a multidiscipline approach will finally show the art and science of accessing the functions of the higher mind, including animal telepathy. Only then will we realize and witness the intelligence and equality of our Earth's animals. That brings us to the end of the episode. I hope you enjoyed this interview with PsychicsForYou.net as much as I love sharing this information. I hope you feel inspired to explore what animal communication or animal telepathy is all about and follow your passions. Be sure to subscribe for more amazing episodes, or book your animal communication session now, or check out my upcoming workshops and classes. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain, as well as opening your mind, heart, and spirit to your deep connection with your beloved animals. For more information, please visit my website at animals-speak.com or Loli Jane, animalcommunication.com, or mindbodyspiritworkshops.com. And please subscribe to my monthly newsletters for invites and classes, workshops and events, and the latest podcast. And you can also find this interview at PsychicsForYou.net. It's psychics with an S on the end, the number 4, the letter U, and then .net. Join us next week for episode 30 on Messages for Humanity from an African Elephant. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please be sure to subscribe, like, and rate us. And as always, love and gratitude for listening to the Loli Jane Animal Communication and Healing Podcast. This is Loli Jane. This podcast was created, produced, recorded, researched, and edited by Loli Jane, and this is a product of Loli Jane Animal Communication and Healing.